Right now I'm a detective constable with the major crimes section. So our section looks after some of the most serious offenses that occur here in Medicine Hat. So we investigate things like robberies, homicides, extortions, sexual assaults, things that I guess are a little bit more in depth in the investigational side of the policing world. And that obviously are, the investigations are a little bit more in-depth and require a lot more resources than a patrol member would be able to put in. I have always loved the investigative side of policing. I think that being able to put together the pieces of a puzzle and make something out of absolutely nothing has always been very challenging. And putting the final product before the courts and solving like a homicide or a robbery where you have very little evidence and you're able to gather that evidence with your team and be able to investigate that file to the best of your ability and bring the people that are responsible for those offenses before the courts. I think that's the most rewarding part of it. Well, I've been very fortunate. I've had a couple of passions throughout my career, and one of them has been drug enforcement. I spent almost 6 years in the drug unit. I enjoyed that part very much. It allowed me to investigate drug offenses within the community in an undercover capacity, as well as employ search warrants and do that type of investigative work. So we were always investigating something in one form or another. And then I went back into the patrol section where I was able to, you know, go out there in a patrol car and attend to complaints and deal with those types of things. But the major crimes aspect is always kind of what drew me back into policing. Being able to put things together and being able to take your time on a file and look at different opportunities and kind of think outside the box to try and put things together has always been something that I've always enjoyed doing. When I was very little, actually, I don't know what it was. I can't tell you, but I had always been drawn to the law enforcement profession. I had always wanted to be a policeman since I was little. There was nothing else that I wanted to do. I didn't have a backup plan. So for me, this was kind of everything. And I was very fortunate enough that I was able to take the education here in Medicine Hat, which is where I grew up, and to be able to open and pursue those doors further for myself and for my family. So Medicine Hat College seemed to me like it was a natural fit. I looked at other places that offered similar police and security program, which what it was at that point in time. But the closeness of the college, the aspect of the community, as well as being able to live at home and pay for my own education was very appealing to me. There is no doubt that I was going to be able to go to bigger centers like Calgary or maybe even Lethbridge or Edmonton and get a very similar education. But I didn't want to come out of school not having a job with a whole bunch of debt. So by being active within the community, I was doing some volunteer work with the service at that time while I was going to school. It really allowed me to I guess, embed my roots within the community here as well as the college, and to achieve something here at home where I would have achieved the same thing elsewhere at a very reasonable time frame. The fact that it's offered here in Medicine Hat is fantastic because people don't have to travel, right? And the program provides you the basic fundamentals of our occupation as well as the occupation for corrections, or if you want to pursue maybe something in the field of law, whether you want to be a crown counsel or a defense lawyer or something like that. So it really allows you to get the basics, and those fundamentals have never changed. The program now has become a little bit more in depth, which is great because it encompasses all aspects of the criminal justice system. So your police, your courts, as well as your correction side, and it encompasses people that don't just want to be police officers. It encompasses people that want to be involved in the law enforcement profession, and there's so many different avenues that you can explore. I think the basic fundamentals are the same, but the program has evolved in the way, I guess, the law has evolved. We as policemen deal with law in the court system, and our responsibilities and our investigational techniques are really guided by what happens within the courts, what's accepted by society and by case law, right? So the program has changed to be able to adapt that, and the things that were current back when I took police and security, although the basic principles are the same, they've really come and some of them have been challenged in court, and new laws have been created because of that. And the program has kept pace with those changes in law enforcement while still staying true to its roots by providing the opportunities for everybody to get into that career. There were 2 former instructors that had retired, so they started the program. And they did a really good job because they had credibility with the students, right? Which is really important, because you don't want somebody coming in talking to you about the aspect of policing without having some kind of a background. The great thing about us is we are still entrenched in the same things that we do nowadays within the policing field of investigations and everything else, and are able to provide that current information and that changing information, because our job changes. It changes based on the decision from the courts, it changes based on case law. There's lots of things that we take into consideration. And by doing both roles, I'm able to provide current and accurate investigational information to the students, so they kind of get it real time. I think everybody's been pretty happy. I've had a couple of students approach me at the end of class, just asking about lifestyle questions and different things. I'm fortunate enough, I sit on the recruitment board, so I have a lot of questions about recruiting, about choices that people make, and what the process is, and how long it kind of takes to go through, and whether people are too young, whether they should get some more life experience. So there's definitely been a lot of engagement from the students in relation to that aspect. I think, in general, we just look for life experience. We want you to be able to think on your feet. We want you to make good decisions and have some good common sense into practical situations. We know that life happens. We know that people aren't perfect, but we want them to be the best that they can be, and to bring that out, especially when it comes down to their interview. I think that specifically to the students, take every opportunity that you can to learn. It's very important. And listen to advice that's given to you, because somewhere down the line that advice will become important. You just don't know when you're going to need it. And do your best. Do your best to be better, and do your best to step into these shoes as students, and hopefully as future individuals within the law enforcement profession. It's really important to be able to convey the good, the bad, the ugly, and the most rewarding things, so that people are better than they were. I want people to walk into these shoes and for me to go, you know what, I did a good job teaching, I did a good job prepping these people for this career, because it's not easy. It's got its challenges, but it's extremely rewarding. And I want them to know that when my family grows up, they have somebody that they can count on. The most satisfying aspect would have to be getting somewhere from nothing, from nowhere, being able to come together as a team, go through frustrations in gathering evidence, go through the investigative process of having nothing, and then at the end of the day, putting the puzzle pieces together to hold somebody accountable for something that they did, knowing that we had nothing to start on or start with, and that we've accomplished something as a team together. So I think that's very rewarding, because it shows you the tenacity that some of our investigators have in making sure that we do the best that we can for our community.